Merry Christmas, Simon.
Oh, Merry Christmas to you. I hope you all have a safe Christmas and that you don't break any lockdown rules.
People will be listening to this after Christmas, I think, won't they? They'll be listening to this in that period between Christmas and New Year.
Is that right?
I
I
think so.
can't keep track.
I think so. I think you're a couple of days after Christmas. You've had Boxing Day. You're probably in that weird point of thinking,
Post
oh,
Panettone heaven.
yeah. Shall I try and have a couple of dry days, or shall I just keep my alcohol levels nice and stable? Here's a question for you. What do you do in that fallow patch between Christmas and New Year?
What do I do?
Yeah, what do you do? Do you have traditions? Do you have
No traditions, no traditions. For a while there, we used to go to Totnes and visit our friends there
Yes, I remember
and
that.
exchange presents. Lots of presents.
Presents that usually had an interesting provenance.
Exactly, and eat lots of cheese. Yeah, but no, not really. Walking, lots of walking. Trying to get out, especially because it's so dark. Just trying to get out and be out.
Yeah.
Lil and I often have our Christmas by proxy by walking around the neighbourhood and looking in at people's Christmas decorations and trees, and even looking at them wearing their hats and eating Christmas dinners.
I love that. So you're like,
Yes, we don't have binoculars though.
little Christmas thieves just stealing bits of goodwill. Do you put your nose up to the letterbox and just like sniff in, like?
I think it's a
got some
little harsh
Christmas
on us to call us
spirit.
Christmas thieves stealing something. I don't think anything's taken from those people. Do
Okay.
you think?
Well, no, I don't. But I think perhaps
I think they're giving.
maybe goodwill emanates to such a high level that it brims over the edge of the property line, and you can just like drink from it. It's an excess.
I would love that. Speaking of excess, actually, there's our neighbours over the back, not the neighbours with the
Yeah, move on. It's Christmas.
our next door neighbours who have gone away, who don't know where their next door neighbours, but they have a light in their backyard, which is focused, I reckon, about 30 degrees, maybe 20 degrees too high, and casts shadows in our house. Like it's basically it's like a spotlight on our flat. And so because there are, what do they call houses that are all connected? What's that called again?
Terrace.
Terrace houses. It's quite hard to figure out from the back which house it is from the front. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've figured it out. I've done multiple sorties, and I know which house it is. And in this fallow period, I'm going to write them a letter, a very non-passive aggressive letter. I'm not going to say, "Would you like a bag?" And I'm going to see if I can ask them either to suggest they either turn it off at night or just have it refocused. But what I'm hoping though is actually that they're midlifing listeners and that they will figure it out.
Yes.
That
I like that.
So all midlife listeners, just check. Do you have a light in your backyard
Oh my God, I do.
that's a little bit focused, a little bit high?
Oh my God, I
Because you
do.
might-
Is it me?
you-
Am I the drama?
I just take a moment. Think of your neighbours.
This is who I am. I'd have climbed the wall and just moved it.
No, you would not.
Yeah, I would. Is that
You're
bad?
kidding.
Is that bad?
The thing
that
is,
like-
I would be seen by there's 2 blocks of flats. Everyone in those blocks of flats would see me climbing over the wall.
That's what
And-
balaclavas are for, Simon.
Yeah, but there's such a bright light, they would still see me.
Yeah, but you'd have a balaclava on, so how would they know who you were?
Yeah, I think yeah. I like that. Maybe that would be. I mean, I did use the word sortie after
Exactly. I thought that's where we were going.
all. I'll report back.
I would, all the while that you're doing this, I want you to go ding 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 ding.
I just can imagine just getting over the fence and falling and smashing my ankle. Talk about midlifing.
Yeah. I was trying to be a very good cat burglar, but instead I just broke my leg.
That's right, and I'm on crutches.
I'm very sorry. Okay, here we
Fallow
are
period.
in this fallow period between Christmas and New Year. I do have a very rich tradition. It's not mine, it's borrowed from the BBC. I like to listen, read, or watch stories.
The Archers.
No! I mean, it's no less middle class, but still. No, I like to listen to, read, or watch Stories by M.R. James. This is a podcast in which two friends have serious conversations about silly things and silly conversations about serious things.
I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller.
Welcome to Midlifing.
M.R. James, the Cambridge Don. Do you know of his work? Montgomery Rhodes James. Don't Google him. Don't go him. Don't encourage him. I can hear you typing, Simon. The answer is either yes, I know, or no, I don't.
His name's Montague Rhodes James.
Oh, what did I call him? Montgomery. Sorry, Montague.
No, I've never heard of him.
Okay, so he was a scholar, but every Christmas he would write a ghost story to be read in the common room. And it became something that he was quite famed for, and he published these stories. And they are, quite often, properly terrifying.
I'm not... and so do you read them, or do you read them out to Bob and Jeffrey?
I've done all of the above. So,
and does Bob get scared?
She will pretend for me. No, I don't think she gets scared because we know them so well now, all of the stories. But we will listen to the radio versions. There's some brilliant Radio 4 versions of them. There are some superb 1970s, I want to say, BBC TV versions, and they're just because they used to come out at Christmas.
If you had a listener that had never heard of M.R. James and had never listened to one of these ghost stories, where would you suggest that this hypothetical listener, faithful or unfaithful, start?
Well, that is a really, really good question. I think I would probably start with the mezzo tint.
It's called the mezzo tint.
The mezzo tint, yeah, because it kind of gives you the willies in a way that there's nothing. I could have gone for like something like "Oh, whistle and I'll come for you, my lad," which is a really good one. But I think for me, the mezzo tint is just the place to start with Montague Rhodes James, M.R. James's work. It's about a guy who effectively is like...
Spoilers?
No spoilers. It's about a guy who is a curator for a library in a Cambridge college. And his dealer sends him things that he finds and says, "Oh, these are on approval. If you want this is how much it'll cost." What's funny?
Well, it's just fun because as you're talking, I've just read the opening paragraph of a précis of the story, and it's made me sweaty.
Very spooky. So he gets this unremarkable mezzo tint, which is like a print.
Yep.
But then something starts to change on the mezzo tint, and it happens over time. And it's just... I
think you should read out the story for the next episode of Midlifing. We could start a Christmas tradition. I could do the Foley sound.
Well, it did make me want... I did want to ask, do you believe in ghosts?
Oh.
Or perhaps what I really want to ask you is, do you want to believe in ghosts?
Oh. Well, I'm such a dork. It depends on what you mean by ghost. Because I think, don't we all have ghosts?
Well, yes, I hear what you're saying because you're giving me a kind of a psychological response, but I mean something else. I mean, so remember that we both have seen The Fog by John Carpenter?
Yes.
And you remember how that film starts?
No.
Okay. It starts around a campfire, 5 minutes to midnight. So John Houseman starts the tale of, effectively tells us the entire story of the film about this leper colony that's lured to their death and how they intend to wreak their terrible and bloody revenge. And there's just something about those shared moments of sitting around a fire, being a little bit spooked, that make me want to believe, even though I don't.
Yeah, well, I think it's is an inverse relationship between how scared I get from those things and how much I believe in ghosts.
Right.
I'm very scared, zero belief.
Yeah.
But I like that I get scared from them. I like that they push my imagination.
Yeah. Has anybody ever told you a spooky story that you don't have a
Inexplicable.
Yeah, something that you couldn't just immediately sort of brush away?
None come to mind, but I'm sure that's indeed the case. I was fascinated by a book. We had a large purple book, the name of which I can't remember when I was growing up. Basically, like strange stories and.
Was it like Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World, that kind of thing?
It might have been. It was a little bit like that, but I don't think it was Arthur C. Clarke. But the one that comes to mind is, the Bermuda Triangle stuff for sure.
Yeah.
And then the one that comes to mind is all those rather odious comparisons between the murder of Lincoln and the murder of Kennedy.
Oh, I don't know about those.
Yeah, like one was shot from a warehouse who ran to a theatre. One was shot in a theatre and the person ran to a warehouse. And there's all these sort of coincidences that somehow indicate something bigger than a bunch of coincidences. But yes, and there was lots of Loch Ness Monster pictures, and I was fascinated and terrified by them. Terrified. I wonder what that book was, actually. Big purple book.
Big purple book full of
probably
scary.
still probably just about to be given away to Mary Potter Hospice, not the hospice itself, but their second-hand shops. Once my brothers finished going through my mum's stuff.
I asked this question too late. You could have looked for it on the shelves while you were there.
Exactly. Strange stories and amazing facts. Is that R.C. Clarke?
Could be. I mean, I think he did loads. I had one that had a picture of a glass skull on the front.
It is Strange Stories, Amazing Facts. It's a Reader's Digest book, and I think we would have had the 1975 edition. That's my guess. I'm thinking that it was purple underneath the sleeve.
Yeah. Can I tell you a ghost story?
Oh, is there a little one?
It's a little one.
Oh, I'd love for you to tell me a ghost story.
So this was something I got told in my first year of university. So that time when you're sitting up too late and you're meeting people and you're trying to understand the world for the first time outside.
And it's different.
Yeah. It's like you never have. I don't think I've had conversations like those conversations ever, or rarely, since those moments. So I was in student accommodation that was above the English department, which was a bizarre thing. It was in an old vicarage. The English department was downstairs, and then we went upstairs, and there was one flat on the first floor, and on the second floor there were two flats. So it was very small. I think there were 5 people who lived in here. And we had quite antiquated plumbing. That's a polite way of saying there was no hot water. So we would go to the next house over. And this was back in the old days where there were single-sex occupancy buildings. So we were all lads, and next door was a house of all women, and I think there were 8 or 12. So it was a slightly bigger house, but not massive. And one of the girls who lived in this flat had come from a minor public school, and she'd boarded. So she was a boarder. And we were doing the whole.
Did she say I went to a minor public school?
No, but she told me the name of it, and I clocked it. And went, yes, minor public school.
My God, I hate this country.
I know. Bearing in mind, I'm from a comprehensive, so it's I kind of.
This isn't the story yet. You haven't got to the
I've
story.
Not got to the story yet. I'm just.
All part of,
this is colour. This is local
preamble.
Colour. Yeah. And so. But it's important to know that, she was a boarder. She was describing her dormitory. She said there were 6 girls to a dorm, and they had the spare bed. So the bed that would be occupied by boarders who were coming for a relatively short period, like for a term or for a year, students who were studying from abroad. So they had the American girl staying with them for a term. And the way that their dormitory was set up was that there was a door, but in front of the door there was like an L-shaped wooden partition. so that when the door opened, you couldn't see directly into the dormitory for privacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like you get, I guess, in Victorian public restrooms.
Sure.
And so it was about 6 foot high, so just about the same height as the door, but there was a gap underneath it, so you could see underneath the partition out to the door and beyond to the corridor. And this American was in her last couple of days there. And she said, "Oh my God, when I get back to the States, I really want my friends to be able to hear how amazing your voices are. So I really want to record you." And this is back in the olden days where people had tape
Cassette recorders.
Yeah, cassette recorders. So she just put a cassette recorder, but also this was a minor public school dormitory. There wasn't a lot of electrical outlets.
So wait a minute. This is your friend at university telling about when she was at the,
exactly. Yeah. This is
gotcha. Sorry, I hadn't clocked that.
This is not. Yeah, so this is.
It was pre-university.
This is pre-university. She was a schoolgirl boarding at a private school.
Yeah. Also, can I say that American accent was amazing?
It was quite ropey, actually. But let's
just
pretend.
But
Thanks.
we don't want to hear from listeners about.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Sorry,
email us about that.
I apologise in advance. And I made her a little bit too valley girl. I don't know why. The plug socket was very near the door, so they plugged the recorder in, and they were sitting in the middle of the dormitory, just chatting to one another, and they're talking away, and they'd sort of forgotten that the recorder was on. And there was a point at which, in the conversation, the dormitory door opened up. And bearing in mind there's a partition in front of it, they can't directly see the door, but they're sitting on the floor so they can see underneath the partition. And so they all go, "Hello," and then pop their head down to floor level and can't see any feet. There's just the door has opened. And it stays open for a little while, and it's one of those doors that's on a return, so it's being held, but they can't see any feet. And they're like, "Oh, that's odd." And then the door just closes. And so what they figured was the door had been pushed, but sometimes you know how a return just catches ever so slightly and holds longer than it should and then starts to close. So they didn't get freaked out by it because nothing had happened. They said, "Hello, hello." Oh, okay, there's nobody there. And then they carried on their conversations. So they carry on with their evening, regaling each other with silly stories. The night finishes and they all make their way to beds. And so the next day, the American girl is packing up her things, and she puts in a set of headphones and starts to listen to the recording because, like anybody who wants to pack, they're trying to put off the inevitable as long as possible. So she thinks, "I'll sit and listen to 45 minutes worth of recording or however."
But she thought of that. She thought that in an American accent.
Yeah. But I'm not going to give an American accent to her interior monologue because I assume everybody's interior monologue is in my voice. So she's in the dormitory and everybody else is packing up, but because I think it was, let's assume end of term. Maybe it's this time of year. Maybe they're packing up for Christmas.
Nice.
And there's a moment where the girl who lived in the house next door to me, whose bathroom facilities I would steal, said she just saw her sink to the bed and go ashen.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "What's wrong?"
Oh no.
And she said, "You just need to listen to this." And she rewinds it and then takes the headphones out. And there's these girls having a conversation. It's all very, fun and silly. And then you hear the door open, swings open.
Oh, no, Lee, I'm going to have nightmares.
And then the girls say, "Hello, hi, hello."
No. I think I have to blank this bit out.
And then into the microphone, you just hear this man's voice. "How sweet." And then the door slowly shuts.
Oh. I can't believe you did. How sweet.
How sweet.
That's some excellent show title, by the way. Midlife and Christmas special. How sweet.
Did it give you the willies?
Yes, of course it did. The setup did. I think actually I was thinking I was imagining that what was going to be said was going to be much worse than that.
Yeah, no, it has to be quite low level, because otherwise it becomes entirely unbelievable, because it's hyperbolic.
It's too, yeah.
So had it been, I'd eat your liver with fava beans and a nice Chianti. It's like, oh God, as if. But just the idea of a voice going, how sweet.
One thing, you mentioned that about the fog, and it seems that even the way you told that story, that seems quite a common thread, is the sort of meta aspect of ghost stories where you're not sure where they're beginning and ending.
Yeah.
In the sense that, it's quite often you're sitting around talking and then someone will tell that story, and it will be of people sitting around a fire, so that there's a sort of, like, it creates a connection with the physical, the geography of this, and the sort of social aspect of the space that is actually existing, if you know what I mean.
Yes, yeah.
And like sitting around the fire at the fog, or these girls sitting around, and even the way you told it was of going to see this person's. So you made a connection to yourself for one thing. Like it's like even like when telling a joke. I remember I met this guy back in, he used to do this, and then I remember him saying to me, so it's like there's a sort of something about it. It's authenticity through the telling.
Yeah.
How sweet.
How sweet, Simon.
Oh. Lee, I hope I forget that between now and bedtime. I'm glad we're recording first thing in the morning.
Just out of curiosity, Simon, if I was to text you the words "how sweet" at like 9:10 tonight, how cross would you be?
I'd cross you off my Christmas card list, which is an exhaustive one, and also just wouldn't show up for next week's episode.
That's okay, because it's already recorded.
Hello, Simon. Hello.
Is that how my northern accent sounds to you?
Yes, it is exactly.
Basically, you're making me one of the teachers
singing.
You're turning me into one of the teachers from Peanuts. Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, Charlie Brown. My dad loved Charlie Brown.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he was a huge fan of Peanuts. Huge fan. He used to redraw them. He was really good at drawing Peanuts cartoons.
I love that.
I don't mean tracing.
No, you mean yeah.
Yeah. We're not talking about tracing here. And he just loved the psychology of Peanuts. Loved it. Charles M. Schultz, right?
Yeah. Me and my dad, we used to love reading Calvin and Hobbes, which was later, obviously. Bill Waterston, I think.
I could never remember. Yeah, but they're very funny.
So funny. And to this day, I will not accept that Hobbes was anything other than a fully real tiger.
Oh, you mean there's controversy over that?
Some people seem to think that he was a stuffed toy.
Oh, my God. People.
People who need people, but the luckiest people in the world, or so Barbara Streisand would have us believe. Simon Kennedy Ellis, listen to me.
Lee David Miller, I'm listening.
Have a fabulous new year, and I will speak to you in 2022.
Wow.
Fuck, doesn't that sound like the future?
Yeah, probably very similar to 2020 and 2021, given Omicron. Oh my cron.
Oh my cron.
Oh my cron. I'm glad we didn't talk about Boris Johnson.